Hi, welcome back to Probable Magic. This is episode number 52. We're doing the wrap up from our THS draft number 20. It was a Swiss draft. You see the deck we're playing here. We went 2-1, one round, 1-3. Lost in round 2. The draft is still going on. See, we lost to Dr. Katz here. He's looks like he went 1-1 so far. You know, it doesn't really matter who wins. I just started kind of paying a little attention to what deck or decks in the Swiss, I guess, beat us, and how they ultimately fare. I mean, it's, for one, I mean, it lets you know if a deck beat us, if it manages to go all the way, if it was strong enough to go all the way. And I think that tells us something. I guess also there's just a little bit of feel-good component to it too. You like to see the guy that knocks you out go all the way. Say, well, at least I lost to the guy who won the whole thing and was undefeated, as opposed to losing to someone who lost a whole bunch. But it doesn't really matter. Best part of this draft for me, the thing I enjoyed the most, was actually that round 2. That was the round that we lost to Dr. Katz there. But that was just such an unusual round of Magic for me, that something very different that I really enjoyed. Yeah. Very kind of stalemated board both times. Both times nearly going all the way for 20 damage with the Scholar of Athreos card that I particularly enjoy, and getting there all the way would have been very cool. Didn't quite happen, but still an unusual round of Magic that I really enjoyed. Worst part, I'm not sure. The draft itself was a little disappointing. There was just not much exciting there. I think if there was one thing this deck really lacked, it was a splashy finisher or two. Like last draft, which was in the same colors, I had at the top end of the curve the Ashen Rider and Hythonia, and I could go long and get to one of those finishers and just clean up. This deck doesn't really have that. Looks like the tournament's over. Who won? Ender's Ghost won. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh well. Sorry, Dr. Katz. There's rooting for you in a way. Okay. Yeah. See, this deck doesn't really have anything splashy finisher at the top end. It's still kind of on the go long plan, and then clean up with the Scholars or the Triad of Fates. both of which cards I really like. Sentry, I guess, is the closest I have to a splashy finisher. Yeah. So that's not great. That said, I didn't really see a lot. Even going around the draft, I don't remember passing anything particularly exciting. And even in my opponents, in round 1, his big thing was a benthic giant. That's not super exciting. Round 2 was, I guess, the Evangel. Not particularly exciting. I mean, it's kind of cool. He got so many 1-1s that one game, but I guess that counts as a splashy finisher. But if we weren't in that stalled state that he could build up so many creatures for the devotion, then it's not as good. Round 3 opponent was the only one who really had some cards of that category, the Ember Swallower and the Prognostic Sphinx. And we managed to beat him. So that's pretty cool. We're going to have to go back and watch the draft, because I know I'm going to get some flack over the picks, first couple picks. My plan to stay very open probably went a little awry. I think guess what I took away from that is being forced to admit that I'm a little biased against red, which is because red's not the greatest color in Theros, and my attempts to play red have not gone well. So I guess we're going to have to go back to the video and re-watch it and think about that a little harder. I guess being able to realize a bit stronger the bias against red and have that as a takeaway is still something. Splashing the Shipwreck Singers probably wasn't as good as I hoped it would be, and I ended up siding them out, I think, every game. I think every round 2 I sided them out just to have some more efficient low end, faster start out the gate that served me better. In fact, I'm pretty sure I lost the first game of every round, and then I sided them out, and then in rounds 1 and 3 I managed to win the next 2 games. So that was a bit iffy. Other than that, I mostly liked this deck. It was mediocre, but I think it was a solid mediocre deck, and I think I managed to play it fairly well without too many mistakes. Let me pause a moment here. Hey, so this is my recording of the draft, and since I know this is going to come down to my failed attempt to stay very open at the beginning, or I guess we'll decide if it was a failed attempt. Let's go ahead and watch just the first couple picks and kind of rethink them. And I haven't tried watching a video of the recording before, so let's see how this goes. Okay, so with my video settings, I can't seem to fix this cutting off the side of the screen right now. So here I picked the Eidolon. What were the other contenders? Certainly the Stone Shock Giant is strong. I was talking about wanting to make sure cards are splashable, which usually means I want to avoid a double casting cost. So I wouldn't splash a Stone Shock Giant. I'd want to be red for him. Whereas I would certainly consider splashing Hopeful Eidolon, especially in like a green deck. You have some big green creatures and then you bestow the Eidolon onto them. That could be pretty powerful. So contenders in this pack, I still definitely consider the Hopeful Eidolon a contender. Certainly the Stone Shock Giant. None of the black cards. Certainly not Fate Foretold. Rage of Perforos is definitely splashable because it's removal spell with only the one red. If I was taking a double red card, I'd certainly take Stone Shock Giant over the Minotaur. And that leaves the green cards. And of them, I like the Scorpion the best because I'm a big fan of the Scorpion. And the Green Ordeal is not the greatest ordeal. There is a Temple. I really like the Temples. I want them to be better than they are. I want them to be worth more than they are. They're worth usually like a ticket. So I mean, this is just not a great pack. I guess the contenders in my mind are Rage, Eidolon, Scorpion, Stone Shock Giant. Of them, I think I like the Eidolon and the Stone Shock the best. Stone Shock probably stronger, but you have to be red. This card's splashable. So in a weak opening pack, I think I'm going to stand by taking the Eidolon here. But I'd certainly admit the Stone Shock as a good contender. So, pick 2, again, not a super exciting pack. Could have taken Nykthos for the ticket value, and that would have been something. I like the Baleful Eidolon. Again, I would certainly splash him, and I think both those Eidolons are just very strong cards. I mean, what else is here? What else is there? There's the Nykthos just for the money value. There's Voyage's End. That's a removal spell. There's these heroic guys. I talked earlier about being low down on heroic. I'm not super excited about either of them. There's the Chosen, the draw card cantrip. Yeah, again, just not a great pack. I think for me the contenders come down to the Baleful Eidolon and the Voyage's End. And I still like the Baleful Eidolon here. So, yeah, again, as you just heard me from the past saying, not a great pack. There's another temple. This temple, I guess, Is this one worth a little more? I don't know. There's one or two that are worth a little more than the others. Um, there's a temple. It would be worth like a ticket. Otherwise, what is there? Flame Speaker. I'm not a huge fan of Flame Speaker. I guess if you go all in on a blue-red instant deck, Flame Speaker plus some of those Spellheart Chimeras, that's a thought. I definitely like the Return Phalanx as a black 2-drop. Cavalry Pegasus, good in the right deck. I don't like him just as a 1/1 flyer. I think you have to either be white-red or white-blue and have enough humans to go with them. Then he's okay. Otherwise, Shredding Winds for the sideboard. I think those are the contenders for me. Pegasus, Phalanx, Shredding Winds, and I still like the Phalanx there. Yeah. So I think we'll keep going to like the first 8 picks, because that's where I said I was going to try to stay very open. So let's watch a few more picks. So far, for some crummy packs, I still pretty satisfied with what I took. Okay, so pick 4 here. Yeah. What do we got? Strongest single card. I think I still like the Horizon Chimera. Could have taken that, but as I said, it was the two colors, and making it hard to splash. That kind of turns me off. The Minotaur is pretty nice in the right deck. Amulet. You certainly want Amulet if you're thinking about splashing. Again, there's the white cantrip. The Ordeal. Yeah, I think I like as a single strongest card, probably the Chimera, but hard to splash. Minotaur, maybe stronger than the Ordeal. Ordeals can be tricky. think this one, I'll say in fairness, I took the ordeal. If I was really doing what I said I was going to do and tried to stay super open, maybe I should have taken the Minotaur. So I'll call that one I should have taken the Minotaur instead of the ordeal. I think it's close. I think I probably subconsciously used the fact that I already had 2 black cards as a tiebreaker, plus being a little biased against red. But if I was being very faithful to what I said I was going to try to do, I probably should have taken the Minotaur there. So, yeah, once again, not a great pack. Definitely think Tactics is the strongest single card here. And next, I like Rage as a removal spell. Nylea's Presence, fine as the green cantrip. Not exciting. I think it's one of these two. I think Tactics is probably stronger. If I had taken the Minotaur, maybe I'd want the red one. There's definitely a case to be made. I should have taken the Stone Shock Giant, and then the Minotaur, and then the Rage. That's something to consider. But yeah, I don't think the Tactics is a bad pick there. Let's watch a few more. So here again, not a super pack. I definitely stand by God's Willing here. God's Willing, I think, is just an all-around powerful card. You can use it to save your guy from a removal spell, as we did a couple times. You can use it as a combat trick when to not trade in what would otherwise be a trade, as we used a couple times. Plus you get the scry. Very powerful. If we had gone in on the red plan, then there's some nice red options here. Would have been a choice between one of these two. Probably the Assault. Although you get some Cerebuses and some Dragon Mantles. That can be nice for that super aggressive red deck that I always want to work well, but never does for me. So I'm pretty sure I still like God's Willing here. So here I think it's fair to say I was starting to give up on the staying very open plan. You know, we were 6 picks in and they were all in 3 colors there. Didn't quite make it all around to 8 like I said I would. So I was already starting to think that there's probably going to be black and or white. I like the triad. Is the triad splashable? Would be an interesting question. I guess it technically is. And the difference between calling this splashable here versus the Chimera splashable several turns ago was here. It's pretty safe to say I'm going to be in either black or white, if not both. So I already have one of these colors and I'm trying to splash the other one. The sip certainly would have been a consideration. And in fact, I did find myself feeling very light on removal until pack 3, where I did eventually get a sip. Omen Speaker is generally solid, if unexciting. Ditto for Unicorn. I'd call this one a toss-up between the sip and the triad. I think is kind of how I viewed it at the time too. So here's one. The Shipwreck Singer in a blue-black deck. Definitely powerful. Tried to splash him and came to realize that splashing him was a mistake. He should probably stay in a blue-black deck. So I guess that was iffy. Doing what I said I was going to do, staying very open, he's the strongest card. If I was on just the general, not trying to stay so open, just drafting as I usually do, I would at this point be looking at black and white cards and either the Scourge Mark, Black Cantrip, or the Fellhide Minotaur. With only 4 creatures so far and no particular reason to care about the enchantment, i.e. Devotion to Black or heroic triggers, I probably would have gone with the Fellhide Minotaur over the Scourge Mark. Yeah, especially with discussions from our last video of paying attention to those 2s and 3s. He's a perfectly adequate 3. So yeah, after review of those first 8 picks, what did we learn? These were just generally crummy packs that we were seeing. We made the best of it. I stand by most of my picks. Going into red with the Stone Shock Giant, if we're going to commit to red as opposed to taking him and splashing, that was questionable. Otherwise, I guess maybe I should have taken that red Minotaur over the black Ordeal on pick 4, and I guess I should have taken the Fellhide Minotaur over the Singer here, but neither of those would have been giving up much. So yeah, I think all in all, I'm still pretty satisfied with my picks. We're going to have to look at one of the next times is the bias against red. Try to really consider that and probably repeat this exercise a bit with hopefully some better packs on staying open, and maybe consider whether or not splashable is really a consideration for at least maybe the first 4 packs, if not the first 8. Anyway, a bit of a long one this time. This was definitely an interesting exercise to rewatch the first couple picks of the draft while it's very fresh in our minds, and revisit those picks. And kind of interesting to see that I really stand by most of them. But let me know, do you find this of any interest or value? I'm just curious. Probably not going to commit to doing it every time, but curious what you thought of it. This has been Probable Magic. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.